What's up, my friends? Welcome. Today is the day. I am excited to finally be able to reveal frames to you. We do have a lot to cover in this video, so I'm going to break it up into three parts. Part one is going to be what is frames exactly, and why did I wait so long to create a product like frames? In part number two, we're actually going to dive in and do a real-time demonstration of frames. We're going to take a look at all of the very unique features of frames, or at least a lot of the unique features of frames. And then in part three, we are going to talk about the future of frames so that you know what to expect as a license holder. So we got a lot to cover. Let's get right into it. So what is frames exactly? Now, contrary to the rumors, I will say frames is not a Figma integration. It has nothing to do with Figma, though the name was inspired by the concept of building with frames inside of Figma. But frames is actually three tools in one. First and foremost, it is a real-time wireframing tool. It's going to allow you to wireframe pages 5 to 7 times faster than you would be able to do inside of Figma. And the reason being is that you are going to be doing your wireframing directly inside of Bricks or any other supported WordPress page builder using our pre-made wireframe blocks. Now, there is a lot going on with these blocks when we dive into the details, but we're going to take a look at that when we get into the actual demonstration. Second, frames is a design-ready layout system, not a pre-designed system. This is a big and important distinction. Frames is a design-ready layout and development system that allows you to quickly lay out pages and get to styling, doing the design portion, or you can work from an existing design, either way. But the goal with this design-ready system is that it doesn't get in your way. You never have to work backwards, and it takes care of 50 to 80% of the development process for you. And that development is super clean. We really focus heavily on both accessibility and clean HTML5 structure. So you can be sure that when you are developing with frames, you are getting the highest quality page layout and underlying development and HTML structure that is possible with a development process. Third, frames is a library of dynamic accessible components. Now, this is a feature set that is coming in the future, but it is one that is very, very important to us and that we will be focusing heavily on. Think about things like accordions, toggles, light boxes, carousels. These dynamic components that are quite advanced and difficult for a lot of people to add manually, these are going to be available to you directly inside of frames, all as the same product, all with a seamless integration inside of the page builder. It is going to be absolutely fantastic. The icing on the cake is that just like with our frames, these components are going to be made to be accessible, and they are going to have the cleanest possible HTML output. Now, while there are plenty of other third-party plugins that add this type of functionality, a lot of them do have issues with accessibility, with clean code. There are a couple out there that are absolutely fantastic, but we feel that if you are going to use a design and layout and development system like frames, you shouldn't have to rely on another third-party tool. We want this to be natively integrated into frames so that you have one product that you can use to go from start to finish on every single website build. So that's what frames is. Now, I want to take a minute before we dive into the demonstration to talk a little bit about why I've waited until now to develop a product like frames, and why I've said in the past that I will never create design sets and I will never create pre-made blocks. And the reason I've said that in the past is because I was very, very worried about scalability and maintainability and the nature of having to work backwards when we talk about most design set concepts and pre-made block concepts. This is the problem, one of the problems that plagues all of the existing things that are available in this category. Design sets where everything is styled at the ID level. I mean, talk about a scalability and maintainability nightmare. It goes against best practices. It goes against what I teach. And I know why people do it. They do it because they don't really know how else to do it, how to do it better. And there's really no underlying framework. On top of things being styled at the ID level, everything is just random values. It could be in pixels, it could be in rims, it could be in ims, you don't know if best practices are being used. If you actually inspect the code, there's no accessibility. The code structure is all messed up. It is not a good experience. The same is true for a lot of these pre-made block sets where they're styling things at the ID level. They're over opinionated, they're over styled, so you're constantly having to work backwards. If you use a design set, you can really only use it once, or all of your websites are going to look exactly the same. So these are big problems. Accessibility, again, is a non-factor in most of these cases. They're just not paying attention whatsoever to accessibility. So when we talk about the difference and why I now feel comfortable doing a product like Frames and offering that to the public, it's because we have the underlying framework, Automatic.css, and we understand how to make things scalable and maintainable for everybody now. Frames is BIM compatible. Every frame that is globally used or used more than once is going to have BIM custom classes attached to it that are ready for styling on your site. You're going to see this when we get to the actual demonstration, how powerful this is. But I was able to get comfortable with creating and releasing a product like Frames because I'm confident in the scalability, I'm confident in the maintainability, and I'm confident in the cleanness of the code output. It is very important to me that when you are building a website, you end up with a scalable, maintainable website, and Frames is going to do that for you. All right, let's go ahead and dive into a real-world demonstration of Frames, and I want to show you guys a lot of the key unique aspects of this product. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go to Bricks Templates. You can start with a page, you can start with a template. We're going to start with our header and footer, and then we're going to dive right into wireframing out a home page. So I'm going to hit Add New, and I'm going to type in header. I'm going to choose header from the template type up top, and I will hit Publish. And I'm going to hit Edit with Bricks. And one of the great things about Frames is that it happens natively inside of Bricks. You don't have to go to a third-party website. You don't have to copy shortcodes and paste them in. Nothing. It happens right inside of Bricks. It's lightning fast, and it just creates a perfectly seamless experience. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on Templates at the top, and I'm going to click on Remote Templates, and you're going to see that instantly all of my frames load in for me, and I can add any of these to my page. Right now I'm working on a header template, so I'm going to go ahead and select the headers category. You see that there's 2 headers available. Now this is an alpha product, and we are quickly adding new frames as we go. This is quickly going to change to 10, 15, 20 different headers to choose from, and on and on and on into the future. Right now, I'm just going to choose header Bravo, and I'm going to insert that template. Notice that it is all done for me. Everything on the right-hand side is nice and labeled and organized as far as our structure panel goes. I have my menu all pre-configured. All I would have to do is swap out my logo with whatever the real client logo happens to be. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go back out. I've done my header. I'm going to go to footer, and I'm going to choose my footer here, and I'm going to go ahead and hit Publish on that. I'm going to hit Edit with Bricks. And I'm going to do exactly the same thing. I'm going to go into the templates, remote templates, and then I am going to go down to footers. I can see that I have footer alpha available to me, so I'm going to go ahead and add that in. You can see that I get a great, well-structured footer here, and I'm just going to go ahead and hit save. Now, obviously, we can go and start customizing this. You can see that it's already pulling in this website's primary action color. So normally in a wireframe, you would have everything would be pretty much black and white, and that's what you're going to get mostly out of the box with Frames, but the action color will be pulled in because Frames is built with Automatic.css, and you are developing this on a live site with Automatic.css. So now we have a footer and we have a header. We're ready to start building our homepage. So I'm going to go into the homepage, and I'm going to hit Edit with Bricks. I'm going to start back in the templates area, remote templates, with my hero section. So I'm going to sort this by heroes. You see we have a lot more heroes available to us. And I am going to choose, let's choose just a simple hero like Hero Golf. Okay, perfect. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to add, I want to add a social proof section with logos. So I'm going to hit templates, remote templates, and I'm just going to go down to social proof. And I can see right here, logo section alpha is what I would like to add next. So I'm going to go ahead and add that in. The next thing I want to do is a nice features section. So I'm going to go to templates, back to remote templates, and I'm going to click on features. I am going to add, let's see if we have a good one. Let's do feature section mic. We're going to go ahead and import that. And you're going to notice sometimes it takes a little bit to actually pop in there, but you do see feature section mic is all ready to go. I'm trying to think what I want next. I think I'm going to want testimonials. We're going to go back to more social proof. Let's scroll down social proof, and I am going to grab testimonial section alpha. Now, actually for this, I don't want the introduction that comes with this. And what's unique to frames is that not only are we, right now, you see me adding full sections to this page, and a full section is a type of frame, but a component is a type of frame as well. A group is a type of frame as well. So what you're going to see is that I can remove this frame, but this frame is also a frame of its own. I could add this individually. If I went to the introduction section, I could add intro alpha to any section that already exists. I could add one of these testimonial cards to any section that already exists. I don't have to put full sections onto the page. I can put individual components or containers, groups. Some of these are repeaters or query loops, as you're going to see, that are already pre-configured. But let's keep rocking and rolling. I want to delete that intro. I don't want this section to have an intro. I want it to seem like this section is part of this section above here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually just go into layout, and I'm going to put a padding top of 0 right there, just on this section. I don't want to do that on the class. I don't want this to affect every section that's like this, just this one section so that I can get a layout that I'm trying to achieve here, okay? All right, so after this, I think I want another feature section. So I'm gonna go to remote templates, features, and I'm just gonna do like this feature section echo. Kind of a nice one feature highlight type section. Okay, next I want to incorporate the blog from this website. So I want to show like our 3 latest articles. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to click and go to remote templates again. And this time I am going to go to my blog section. So for my blog section, I want to choose article section alpha right here. And it is going to import this. And I want you to notice that what it is importing is actually a pre-configured loop. So it is already dynamically pulling our blog articles from the blog section of this website. We didn't have to do anything extra to make that happen. So I'm going to go ahead and hit save, but I just want you to see how quickly we were able to achieve a wireframed page layout. This is a wireframe that you can sell to your clients. I strongly, and I've always strongly advised agency owners and freelancers to sell the wireframing portion of a project. Don't just do the wireframing yourself in your mind as you do the design and development. You are cutting yourself short and you are not getting paid what you are worth. Sell the wireframing portion, and then look how quickly with frames you can create an entire page wireframe. Now, this moves us into frames being a design-ready development system as well. As you can see, there's not much styled here. It is free for you to do whatever you want moving forwards. We're not going to have to undo a lot of stuff in order to get this design to where we want it to go. I'm not going to design this entire page, but I am going to give you an example of how this works. And there's some key things that we need to talk about as we do this. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to jump back here and just show you how we can style this hero section and logo section really quickly. So the first thing I'm going to do is decide, do I want this hero to always be styled like this? Or do I want this one hero section in particular to be styled like this? If I only want this one hero section in particular to be styled like this, all I have to do is start using my ACSS utility classes. All right, so I'm going to do BG base, and let's do ultra light. Let's do BG base ultra light. Okay, so I see I get a nice light blue background there. And I am going to do a BG base on this logo section. So we're going to do BG base. Now you see that we have some dark logos here. Now I can't magically fix logos for you on a website, But what you can do if you want to use a dark section with the logos is simply get white logos to put in the section. And we can take these out as well. So I'm going to quickly delete these. You can obviously take logos and convert them to being white, if they're black. You could do a CSS invert if they were pure black. That's another option as well. And I want to show you here, I'm just going to keep duplicating. The sections are not going to break on you. Frames are not going to break. They're built for being scalable and flexible. So you see, it just continues to stack them. And because we're using a flexbox technique here, they're going to be nice and centered. If we just pause for a minute and look at this on the front end at what we've got going on, you can see that this is always going to work well. Everything is perfectly uniform. Again, we take great care to make sure that this stuff is structured really, really, really well. Okay, I'm just gonna go with 4 logos for now. Now I'm gonna tie these 2 sections together by coming over here, and I'm just gonna do this at the ID level. Again, this is gonna be a kind of a custom thing, and I don't want this to apply to every hero golf section that exists on my website. So I'm gonna go down to style, and we're gonna go add a box shadow that is an inset box shadow. And I'm gonna do a 0 on the x-axis. I'm gonna do a minus 200 on the y-axis, and then I'm gonna do 0 for blur and spread, and then I'm gonna choose one of my colors. I'm gonna choose the base color that matches the section below. So now I'm gonna save that. I'm actually also going to swap out this photo while I'm here. I'm gonna use this one, and I can also start doing content development here. You are going to love this workout series. Okay, I'm getting a little bit of lags. I'm, screen recording and all of that. All right, perfect. Now let's just go take a look at what we've got on the front end. So I've got a nice hero section here. I've got a nice hero featured image. I've got logos below it. Look how fast we're getting to styling. Now, that is styling one-off sections, okay? What if I do want to style something and I want to make sure I have global control over it? I want to make sure that this is scalable and maintainable and following best practices. Well, this is where BIM comes in. Everything in Frames is built with BIM. So let's take a look at this testimonial section here. First thing I'm noticing is you can see that I have some utility classes on this section, but I also have a lot of custom classes. If I click on this card as an example, you're going to see that it is called FR Testimonial Card Alpha. It's prefixed with FR for frames, and then it's Testimonial Card Alpha. If I look at this little headline right here, it's Testimonial Card Alpha call out. If I look at this, it's Testimonial Card Alpha quote. Everything is pre-named for you. Everything is contextually accurate. All of these custom classes are just sitting here waiting to be styled by you. And when you style using the classes, every testimonial card alpha on this website will look the way you want it to, like that. You don't have to copy and paste styles. You don't have to do any other shenanigans. You just can start styling your testimonial. So what I'm going to do is just quickly style up this testimonial card, and you can watch all of the other cards change because they all share the same BIM classes. So I'm going to go ahead and we are going to set a white background color on this. So I'm going to go to my shade category. I'm going to choose white. I am going to give this some padding as well. And I can choose any values I want. I can use ACSS variables. For example, I can do var space m, and I'll get m spacing, and then I can link that so I get it all around the card. Every card is adapting as I do this. I can go to style and we can add a box shadow here. So I'm going to go to box shadow. We'll do a 2. Let's do 30 on the blur. Let's do -2 on the spread. Let's choose our base color and we'll do our ultra dark trans 20, something like that. I'm going to come up to our alpha star and I'm going to change, let's see, I'm going to change the color of our alpha star to maybe our primary color. How about that? Let's do our website's primary color. So I'll change that. Now, the next thing I want to do is I want to make this text a bit smaller. So I'm going to make sure I'm editing the testimonial card alpha quote class. And I'm going to go to typography, and you can see that's already set to var text M. I can simply switch that to S. I can change the line height if I want to here. Let's go ahead and edit that as well. So I'll do something like a 1.8, get these a little bit more spaced out with our line height. So you can see, right? I can easily style, and I have custom global control over all of these different components. All right, the next thing I want to look at is something that I call contextual utility classes. And this is a new layer of utility classes that we are introducing with frames. And these may come to Automatic CSS in the future as a native feature, but right now they're only available in frames. So as you know, on a section like this, you have a container here, and then you effectively have another container down here. And the space between the containers can already be controlled with OWL spacing classes like OWL-M, OWL-L, whatever. You can use gap classes for these, since these items use flexbox. So you could put a gap L or a gap XL, whatever you want the spacing between containers to be. The problem is the OWL classes, the gap classes, and using variables randomly, they have no context to them. Now we're bringing context to utility classes in certain areas. So for example, you have a content gap class. If I click on this or a content gap variable. So if I take a look at Hero Golf's content wrapper here, and I go down to the content tab, you're going to see under row gap, there's FR content gap. That is a contextual variable that is only used for gapping content, so that all of your content share the exact same gap. And you don't have to remember, was I using OWL-M? Was I using OWL-L? Was I using gap-M, gap-L? It doesn't matter anymore. You simply use content gap. Now we know contextually, anywhere I need a gap in content, I use content gap. And this gets even more powerful, guys. I'm going to show you in just a second, so hang tight. Same thing with spacing between containers. We have container gap, which can have a completely different value. Probably you would want a bigger value for the gap between containers than you do the gap between content. Same thing with grid gap. We have a predetermined grid gap. Every single grid on your site can use the grid gap class or the grid gap variable, and they will all have the exact same gap, which then, by the way, is editable at any single time. So if you ever decide your grid gap needs to change, if you ever decide you want a little bit more spacing between your content, if you ever decide you want a little bit more spacing between your containers, you can change these values. Contextual utility classes and contextual variables, once you start using them, you are going to ask yourself, it's going to be another situation where you're like, how did I live without this? Now, let's go to the next layer of contextual utility classes, okay? We are going to visit the back end and the Automatic CSS dashboard. So I'm going to go to Automatic CSS. I'm going to go into frames, and we're going to take a look at what is now available to us in the frames area of Automatic CSS. You see we have hero padding as a contextual variable and contextual class. Here's our content gap. Here's our container gap. Here's our grid gap. Now, just to show you how this works, I'm going to change our container gap from L to XXL, and I'm going to save changes. And just like you would expect on the front end, I'm going to leave this, and then I'm actually going to refresh here, and we can see the difference. So notice this gap right here. This is one container, and here's another container. So here's the gap between my container now became XXL, whereas previously it was much tighter. So now I'm able to, just like you can change your entire spacing scale on your website, I can now do this contextually and say, no, I just want to tighten up the space between my containers, or I want to loosen up the space between my containers. Watch my content now between this page and that page. So I'm going to go back into the admin here, and for my content gap, I'm just going to exaggerate this so you can see. I'm going to do XXL on my content. And now I'm going to refresh, and look at the gap happening between my content. Now, obviously you would never want to do this, but I'm just showing you how you now have the ability to dial in spacing and layout using contextual classes and variables that you did not have before. So now I'm going to go back. I'm going to quickly just reset these to what they were before. Again, you can do this to your hero section padding because heroes are naturally larger than other sections, and you want to be able to change that and influence it without going from hero section to hero section to hero section on a website. swapping out classes or creating custom hero variables and making sure that's applied to every single hero section, why not just make sure you're using that contextual utility class or contextual variable, and then you have the ability to adjust that from one single place, your ACSS dashboard. So the next area I want to take a look at is accessibility and HTML5 compliance. So as an example of this, now you're going to find this stuff baked into almost every single frame, but just to give you an example, I'm going to go to our templates. I'm going to open up our footer. We're going to hit edit with bricks. I'm going to scroll down and I want you to see it looks like a very standard footer, right? Well, there's a lot going on here that's very important. First thing I want to direct your attention to are these social icons down here on the right-hand side. You'll notice they have the little accessibility badge with ACSS's hidden accessible text feature. All of this is baked in for you. If I click on this row down here, you're going to see that I have my social icons. I have Facebook, I have Instagram. Let's go ahead and collapse all this to make sure you guys can see it. So in my subfooter alpha, there's my container, there's my social icons, there they are right there. But if I open one up, you're going to see that the Facebook icon, for example, is a mix of an icon and then hidden accessibility text, so that this stuff is focusable by default and that it announces the text to screen readers. So the accessibility of this stuff is taken care of for you. Notice the accessibility text says, follow us on Facebook. So if we go to the front end of the website, check this out. I'm going to just cover your ears for a minute. I'm going to turn Apple VoiceOver on, and we're going to get all the way down here to our footer. All right, so, and this is usually kind of loud.
VoiceOver link visited visit link call link follow us on Facebook footer link follow us on Instagram link follow us on TikTok link follow us on YouTube. VoiceOver off.
So you can see that the accessibility is baked in for you. It's already done. The next thing I want you to notice is with our footer links, right? Most design sets, most pre-made blocks, what they're gonna do is just slap some columns in here. They're gonna just slap some links in here. If we go look at the code on the front end, let's go preview, and I'm gonna inspect. You're gonna see, and let me see if I can zoom in here. All right, so I'm gonna inspect down here. Awesome. So here's my nav element right here. Here's my unordered list. You see that I have LIs and then I have my A's inside my LIs. This is the structure of a proper navigation. I want you to see that we already have something else. ARIA label equals footer, which means that in screen readers, this is not just going to be announced as a navigation, because that can be confusing with, well, which navigation is it? It's going to announce this as a footer navigation, so that a person with a screen reader knows exactly where they are on the page and exactly which navigation they are interacting with. So I want to look at one more thing just as an example of this. We're going to take a look at our blog cards right here. And obviously, this is not styled yet, right? This is just, everything is there ready and waiting on you. I haven't styled this portion, though it did pull in our featured images all by itself, and it pulled in the content all by itself as well. But I want to look at the underlying structure of these cards, because I guarantee you, when it comes to design sets, other people's design sets, and these aren't even design sets, keep that in mind, right? But when it comes to using design sets, when it comes to using pre-made block systems, you are not getting this level of quality and attention to detail. I want you to notice that these are article cards. They have the semantic tag that they need to have. I want you to look at the structure here, right? Where we have a body coming first in the DOM, but the body is not first visually. And if you've watched my cards on how to create proper card structure, this is how it should be. Your body, which contains your heading, should come first in the DOM tree, because a screen reader should interact with a heading before it interacts with an image, because the image doesn't have any contextual sense yet, but the heading gives that contextual sense. So the heading should be first, and then the image should be second. So in the builder, when you are building your cards, or you're trying to edit your cards as an example, and this one is inside of a loop, I'm going to close all of these. We're going to go down to article section alpha, to our grid. There's article card alpha. You see we have the body and the media wrapper, but clearly visually, the media comes before the body. This is because we flip them with CSS for sighted users. But for accessibility purposes, we have the body, which contains the heading, coming first in the DOM tree. It's these little types of details. If I click on the post date as another example, you see that it has the custom HTML tag of time. These are details that you are not going to find in any other system. And these are big details for a lot of reasons going forward with accessibility and clean HTML structure, SEO. It has an impact across the board. And combine these details with all of the other aspects of frames that you've just seen. All right, now you've seen how quick it is to add single sections to a page, quickly get to design and finish up development. But what happens if you want to just drop in a fully done template? So for example, I hate building single blog post templates. It's like 1 to 3 hours of time if you really do it right. And it's just the same kind of monotonous work over and over and over again. So check this out. I'm going to go to templates. I'm going to go to add new. I'm going to go type in the title blog single post. I'm going to choose single from up here and I'm going to publish this. And I'm going to edit with bricks. Once the builder opens, I'm going to go to the templates area, remote templates. I'm going to make sure that import images is checked here. I'm going to go to blog, and then I'm going to use blog post alpha. So I'm going to go ahead and insert that into the page. I'm going to go up to template settings here, and I'm going to assign this to our posts. So I'm going to do post type posts, and I'm going to go ahead and hit save. Now what I'm going to do is just go to one of our posts. You can see I've got some dummy posts here. And we'll just preview on the front end and see what we've got. And check this out. The entire blog post is done for me. So we've got the header area, we've got the author pulled in, the number of comments pulled in, the date. All of our blog content here is ready to go. Nice and spaced out, by the way. And then we've got our author card. We've got a comments area. Check this out. We've got a related posts section. Cards are ready to go and be styled for you. The repeater, the query loop, is already configured for you. And in this instance, what it's going to do is it's going to pull in all posts that are in the same exact category. It's going to make sure that the post that you're currently reading is excluded from the query. All of this is all pre-done for you. So just like that, the blog post for this client is 100% taken care of. You're going to be able to do the same thing with your archive templates, with your search results templates. Check this one out. We've got, for example, I do a lot of advertising on Google Ads for clients, and we need squeeze pages and things like that. So I'm going to go to pages, add new, and we're going to do a squeeze page. So I'm going to go ahead and hit publish, and I'm going to edit with bricks. So let's go ahead and go to templates, remote templates, and let's go to squeeze pages. I'm going to insert squeeze page alpha. Check this out, guys. A squeeze page already ready to go for me. If I want to, I can turn off the header on this page. I can turn off the footer on this page. That's just a standard bricks feature. I've already got a bricks contact form in there that's ready to go. Check this out. These are done with real images. Everything in Automatic CSS is done with real images, not background images. So you get the benefit of alt tags. You get the benefit of lazy loading. A lot of good stuff comes with that. So it's easy for me to just come in and I can drop in an image. It's already got an overlay for me. I can tweak the overlay if I want. So you can see FR Squeeze Alpha Overlay class allows me to do whatever I want with this overlay. I simply drop in my text. I configure my form. I hit save. I am ready to go. We can see previewing this on the front end. Let's see if we can turn off on this page. General, let's disable the header, disable the footer, and see what happens here. Look at this. A full height squeeze page template ready to go, just like that, fully responsive, and I'm free to continue designing to my heart's content on this page. But to be honest, I mean, it's a squeeze page. It looks pretty good with just that nice background image in there. I just got to make sure I have really good content. I can style this form. If I want to style the form any differently, I can do that directly in bricks. Very, very powerful stuff. All right, so what I want to do is I want to go back to camera. I want to talk a little bit about the future of frames. So obviously, we are going to sell 200 LTD licenses Those are going to be the only LTD licenses that are ever sold. This initial group, you are buying an alpha product. I want to be very clear about that. It is in the alpha stage. It is quickly going to progress into the beta stage. It is quickly going to progress into the 1.0 ready for live website stage. And here's why this is important for you to understand. My agency is going to be using frames. I am pretending as if I am building this product for myself. I am going to be using frames. So my agency, relying on frames, needs a lot more frames. We need more headers. We need more footers. We need more sections. We need more cards. We need more elements. We need all that stuff. And we are going to be working as quickly as possible to build all of that in. This is not a situation where I'm building a product for the market. It is a situation where I'm building a product that I am going to be personally using, just like I use Automatic.css, which means it is going to get the constant attention that it needs and deserves. We're also going to be working as quickly as possible to build in those accessible components that I talked about earlier. The toggles, the accordions, the carousels, the sliders, the light boxes. I need those things as much as you need those things. Frames is going to be actively developed at a very fast pace, just like you see Automatic.css actively developed at a very fast pace. And while we are selling 200 initial LTDs, this is going to be a subscription product. Once those LTDs are done, we are going to sell it on a subscription to ensure that it has consistent funding for all of the things that we want to be able to do in the future. And I'm telling you, we are just scratching the surface. So if you want to be able to wireframe out pages in record time, if you want a design ready layout and development system, if you want those accessible components, an entire library of accessible components, you need to get in on this LTD. You need to get your frames license right now. This is going to change. I'm telling you, once you have used it, and you've seen just a little bit of it in this video, once you have really started to use it, you are going to wonder how you lived without this, and you are going to just see dollar signs in your eyes because your margin is going to go through the roof. Your ability to take on more project volume is going to go through the roof, and your quality of output is going to go through the roof because I guarantee you 90 to 95% of web designers and developers are not putting this attention to detail, this level of attention to detail into the development of their websites. This is all now done for you by default. So click the button below, grab your license. There's an FAQ below. There is a frames, how to set up all that good stuff, documentation inside the ACSS community once you have your license. I'll see you guys very soon.